Please make sure you put your phones on vibrate, shut them off. And the brothers that are sitting in the doorway, if they can move up out of the doorway, come closer to the front. And alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh. ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما ثم ما بعد إن خير الكلام كلام الله سبحانه وتعالى وخير هدى هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة أما بعد. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty. Alhamdulillah, we thank Him. We seek His help, we seek His assistance, and we seek refuge in Allah, the Mighty, the Forgiver, the All Aware, from the evil of our own deeds and the bad consequences of our actions. Whosoever Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala puts and guides upon the straight path, none will be able to divert him if he holds to that straight path. And whosoever Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala leaves to be astray to desires and falsehood, then none will be able to guide him, no matter how much you call them, except that Allah guides them. I bear witness that there is no deity that has the right to be worshipped in truth other than Allah. Mustahiq al-ibadatihi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wahdahu la sharika lahu. And He's not like His creation in any way. He is separate and different from all that He has created. He has no partners, no sons, no children, no parents. And He is the one who sent the last prophet, the messenger of humanity, Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi wa sallam. Last week and the week before, we were talking about the issue of homicides and suicides going up in number in this country. And it's a direct relation between mental health, spiritual health, drugs, instability, lack of iman or weak iman, and the environments that we find ourselves in. And today we want to talk about, it's something similar in the same category, but it's about misconceptions and those things surrounded around marriage, surrounding around the righteous wife, and we'll deal with the righteous man at another time. But this is important, as we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His prophet, He mentioned, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, in authentic hadith, ad-dunya mata', ad-dunya mata', dunya, this is where we live. And the ulama, they said dunya takes its name and meaning from a lowly thing. That's why it's called dunya, because it's low. So here, the prophet said, ad-dunya mata', this lowly, filthy, challenging, so alluring and deceptive, as we say, funky dunya, the best from amongst it, the prophet said, it has a mata', it has something you can enjoy. Because remember, we're also talking about inward and outward happiness. That which is sa'ada, inward happiness, mata'a, outward happiness. So here the prophet said the dunya mata'. And the focus is talking about وَخَيْرُ مَتَاعِ الدُّنْيَا الْمَرْأَةُ صَالِحَةٌ, or kama qala. He said, and the best of this lowly dunya that you can have from amongst it is a righteous wife. So this is important because we're going to talk about many misconceptions, some rulings and things that are relevant, because we have some Muslims that maybe she's a righteous wife, but she wants to be demoted because of activity. She doesn't understand the value of being a righteous wife. And maybe someone has a situation where they're not so righteous, but they can be righteous. Hope should not be given up on. And then there's some ways that we use the text that it makes people lopsided. So we want to try to bring all of that together. So the first point, the prophet said, this life, this dunya, this lowly life that we're in, this temporal, it has good things in it. From the best of them, mata dunya al mar'atu salihat, a righteous wife. And they have descriptions. In a nutshell, the Prophet he mentioned the descriptions of this when he was talking about the wife of Abu Darda, Darda. And he basically, alayhi salatu wasalam, he mentioned that if she enjoins the good with you and prohibits the evil with you, meaning she helps you in what's right, and if there's something wrong that will jeopardize your deen, she stops you. She doesn't indulge you in that. She doesn't encourage you. She's the aid towards the good that leads to the Jannah, no matter what it is. And she's a hindrance with that which leads to the Nar. That's in a nutshell, Mar'atu Salihat. And that's keeping in mind she's a Muslim. She's praying, she's fasting, and guarding her privates, not sleeping around and like this. Then the prophet he mentioned Batana to Su in the same hadith that she may seem as if she's calling you to good, but really she's not calling you to good. She's giving you help and advice and aid in the disguise of what's good, but it's to lead you to the hellfire. And we've seen those type of efforts where all she wants is dunya, 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 things of this world. No matter what you have to do, no matter what you jeopardize, I want this, you better get it. That's batana tusu. That's an evil lady. That's not what the Prophet mentioned as mar'atu salihat. Another one, she puts her needs, her wants, her desires before the husband or after the husband, because she knows this, if it's sincere to please Allah, that woman will gain the Jannah. And this is our vocal point, the Jannah, because this dunya is, as the Prophet mentioned, fania, it's temporal. So these are examples the Prophet gave of the mar'atu salihat, the righteous lady, and the opposite, we have to know, the unrighteous lady. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first thing we want to mention is that some of the brothers in their speech, when they talk about marriage, they mention the Prophet on his farewell Hajj, Hajjatul Wada', حينما وصى عليه الصلاة والسلام لأمته استوصوا بالنساء خيرا. نعم, when he advised the ummah, be good to the women. فإنهم عندكم فإنهن عندكم كالعصير. they're like something precious or a captive. Now, so here they overemphasize this and they say, oh, the women this, the women that, and we should be patient. Now, we should be patient. But remember, the Prophet ﷺ, his fourth wife, Hafsa, Khadija Ula, wa Thani Mada, Sauda. بعد سوداء عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها ثم نكح عليه الصلاة والسلام حفصة بن عمر ibn al-Khattab. Now, he married Hafsa number 4. And when we check the books of hadith and explanation of seerah, we don't find a sabab. We don't find a reason why, but the Prophet talaqaha, he divorced Hafsa. She's from our mothers. She's from the best of the women. لكن طلقها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. And not to mention, Hafsa is a divorce, is a widow. Her husband, شهد بالبدر واجتهد واجتهد في أحد. He was present in the battle of Badr, and you know what Allah said in His message about the people of Badr. And then he died in Uhud. So Abu Bakr and Uthman, they were approached by Umar. And this was after the iddah, because the lady has a period of grieving, 4 months and 10 days for the loss of a husband. If she's pregnant, then it goes beyond 4 months and 10 days until she delivers the baby. She still belongs to that man, even though he's dead. And this, the ulama that said, وَهَذَا شَيْءٍ عَجِيبٍ اسْتَقْرَبْ لِيُبَيِّنْ إِثْمَةُ مِقَانْ رَجُلٍ. This is something that's so amazing, mind-boggling, that a man can be dead and still that lady belongs to him until this period of time is up, to show the greatness and the status and the respect that Allah gave in men. He's dead. She still can't say, okay, I'm going on with my life. I found somebody until a certain amount of days as if he's still alive. Ajib. Amazing. So when that time was up, Umar ibn Khattab went to, some narrators say Uthman and Abu Bakr walaka nasah. Abu Bakr. He went to Abu Bakr first. Abu Bakr didn't say anything. He said, I want to marry you to Hafsa. Abu Bakr stayed quiet. Then he went to Uthman. Uthman said, give me a night or so, I'll get back to you. Uthman got back to him, said, I'm not ready these days to get married. I'm good. Then Umar, he went to the Prophet, and the Prophet, when he went to him, the Prophet said, marry me to Hafsa. Engage me to her, give her to me. And then Umar married Hafsa to the Prophet. In another narration, Umar, he said, I went to Uthman to marry her to Uthman. Uthman said he's not ready. Abu Bakr was silent. The Prophet said, I'll do you better than that. You want to marry your daughter to Uthman, somebody better than that for Uthman. You wanted to marry your daughter to Uthman, somebody better than that for your daughter. I'm going to marry my daughter, the daughter of Nabi, to Uthman, and you'll get me to be the husband of Hafsa. Allahu Akbar. So this Hafsa, the Prophet divorced her. And Jibreel نزل من السماء فقال الله عز وجل أمرك أن تراجعها لأنها قوامة صوامة أو كما قال. Allah has commanded you to take her back. The iddah has not expired. Take her back, because she's a lady who prays her 5 daily prayer and she fasts from Ramadan. Here, قوامة صوامة أي بكل ما يتعلق لواجباتهما. Everything that's connected to the 5 daily prayer that's a must, she upholds. The time, the purification, her heart being in the salat, the effect of the salat being on her, the fasting, the time of fasting, breaking it without having a fourth of a day fasting, and all of this stuff that we do. In another word, he said, فَإِنَّهَا زَوْجَتُكَ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. Okay, because she will be a wife in the Jannah. So the Prophet took her back. Why he divorced her? Wallahi, we don't know. So what does this show? That, patience with the woman, patience with the woman. The Prophet mentioned in his last farewell Hajj before he died, shortly after that he died, والسلام, emphasized why? Because he was dealing with a people that was not being good to the women in general. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَضْرِبُوهُنَّ, beat them. But Allah is not telling the man to abuse the women. That came after a series of things when you try to remedy the problems in the house. Advise them first. وَهْجُرُوهُنَّ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ. Don't share the bed with them. And some take that literal. You sleep in a bed, she sleep in a bed. Others say, no, you share the bed, but madarji here means don't have relations with her in the bed. Don't give her sexual attention till she comes back from the mistake or the sin that she was doing. Then the last thing, وَضْرِبُوهُنَّ, beat them. But here, that's why it's important. You can't take the Quran like it's a newsletter or something that you got in an email and go on your own. Have to go back to the Sunnah of the Prophet, and even that requires some type of guidance from the people of knowledge. Here, the Prophet explained what
type of beating. He said, the type of striking that leaves no pain. Now imagine, everybody think when you want to hit somebody. It leaves no pain, no marks, no breakage of bones, no bruises. That's almost like saying, man, I might as well not hit him. That's not, what kind of hit is that? So Allah Azza wa Jal, the people understanding the Quran, they understood wadribuhunna, beat them, meaning don't beat them. As words in the Arabic language that have diddu ma'an, have the opposite meaning. But we take it, we read it, Allah is saying beat them. La, كيف؟ إذا فسره النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بغير مبرر, when the Prophet gave the explanation of the striking that doesn't cause any type of harm, pain, bruising, or breakage. While on the other hand, the women of Medina, they were the opposite of the men in Mecca who were beating their wives. The women in Medina were beating their husbands. We have something like that today. Get out my face. Straight up. And sometimes it's warranted because the brothers be took off, like Fir'aun, beating the women, kicking them in the stomach, dragging them down the steps, kicking them out of the cars, pulling pistols on them. We're talking Muslims doing this to Muslims. So sometimes that lady have to take a masculine posture to protect herself. But we saying in normal situations, marital stuff, sometimes you find the women, they like doing to the man what really shouldn't be done with no excuse, beating them, making marital discord like this. So what's the point? The point is that this ayah, where Allah Ta'ala is talking in clear Arabic language, so we think, is not telling you to beat the women. He's dealing with the people that was doing that, and he's weaning them, just like the slavery was a world commodity. He's weaning the people from slavery. He's weaning the men from beating the women. Likewise, you have the righteous woman. Again, we said, this is a serious issue, where the Prophet sallam hadith عند الإمام حاكم في مستدركه وعند أبي داود وغيره عن أبي موسى الأشعري رضي الله تعالى عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Abu Musa, he said, the Prophet, he said, ثلاثة يدعون الله لا يستجاب لهم. ثلاثة, three people. يدعون الله, they make dua to Allah, ولا يستجاب لهم, but Allah won't answer them. Before I finish this hadith, فيه خلاف, there is a difference of opinion. من العلماء يصححه أو يحسنه ومنهم يضعفه. Some said this hadith is credible, it's sahih, others said no. طيب, the Prophet, he said, الرجل تحته امرأة سيئة وفي لفظ تحته يعني امرأة سيئة خلق ولم يطلقها. A man who has under his care. The Prophet used the term امرأة سيئة, an evil lady. وفي رواية تحته امرأة سيئة خلق, she has bad character. ولم يطلقها, and he doesn't divorce her. That man, according to the beginning of the hadith, لا يستجاب له Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah won't answer his dua until he divorces this lady. والثاني رجل على دين ولم يشهدها. Person has a debt he takes and he doesn't write it down. I do a debt with you. I said, listen, I need $500. You say, here, Shaikh, you good. You don't need to write nothing. Lie. This hadith, if you don't write this down, no matter if I'm good, bad, I'm your Shaikh, I'm your brother-in-law, your father-in-law, when you make dua, Allah won't answer according to this hadith your dua because you didn't write down the debts. الذي أتى إليه السفهاء ويؤتي المال, and someone who's considered foolish, meaning they're going to use the wealth in the wrong way. He comes to you and you give him, and you know he's foolish, but you give him wealth. And Allah said, وَلَا تُؤْتُوهَا سُفَهَاءَ, Don't give the wealth to the foolish. This hadith have three people. The lady who's bad or has bad character, the one who takes a debt, he doesn't write it down, and the one he knows the person is foolish who's soliciting funds from him, and he gives that person. Some ulama said it's not authentic, the meaning. I'm going to take them first. One of them said, because how could this be when sometimes that lady that has the bad character, maybe you love her. So you keep her because you love her. And this is valid. To keep somebody, although they may be problematic, because you care. You know if you let them go, it's going to be worse. And sometimes we see that with our own children. We don't leave them. We don't let them go. They're grown. We still tolerate them. Why? Because we know it's going to be worse for them. They need us. The second thing he said, maybe you have children by that lady. You divorce her, is going to ruin the children. We can't understand yet the harm of divorce. With good parents, bad parents, it always tears the children apart. Except in some circumstances where you have to do it, then Allah make it easy. Wallah musta'an. So that particular group of scholars, they said the hadith can't be right in its meaning because there's some exceptions where even though that person is considered with bad character, it's not wajib that you divorce them. تتحمل يعني كيف تشاء كما تشاء. You can carry the burden as you wish, as you have the ability. And that was the opinion of Imam Muhammad Salih al-Uthaymeen. He said the hadith can't be sahih because for the man, له يتحمل. He has to carry the burden of the woman. And to be, bringing her along and, developing her and so forth. Like this is part of being a man, in other words. ولكن فيه ماذا بارك الله فيكم حد, but there is a limit. As we see the Prophet ﷺ, he divorced Hafsa. So if you couldn't divorce a lady, you just tolerate. The Prophet ﷺ has the finest guidance. He would have never divorced Hafsa. Now, others say this hadith can have two meanings. That Allah won't answer your dua, and these are the people that said the hadith is sahih. Hasanahu, Imam al-Albani, wa ghayru. Others said it has so many chains that it's to the level of Hasan. Although you have some discrepancy in the chain because it's reported from so many different other angles, it's at least Hasan. Imam al-Albani has that opinion. And then they said there's two meanings. That Allah won't accept your dua until you divorce that lady who has bad character, or she's evil, or until you not give to that person who is foolish, or until you make tawbah and now you sign for the debt. But the highlight is the woman in the hadith. It's talking about the woman. So some said that Allah won't answer your dua until you get rid of that lady, divorce her. She's bad. And then others said, Allah won't answer your dua that you make for that lady because you're enabling her to do the bad by not letting her go. Either way, you see the issue of righteous lady versus the lady who's not righteous lady. And then Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala's prophet, he said, this hadith, again, some scholars, they debate. Some said haram, some said the hadith is sahih, it's correct in its chain, transmissions, meaning. Others said it's da'if. That is the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, أبغض الحلال إلى الله الطلاق أو كما قال. The most hated halal thing to Allah. The most hated halal thing to Allah is at-talaq. Now, everybody says, well, how can something be halal and Allah hate it? Some ulama said, هذا يدل على أن الحلال فيه درجات وطبقات. This shows that halal has different levels. فيه حلال يحب الله سبحانه وتعالى. You have the halal that Allah He loves. وفيه حلال ما دام ينكره الله تبارك وتعالى. Something halal, but Allah, He doesn't like it. And in this case, you can see, if divorce is the main thing that when the shayateen, they go out, and we know about murder, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We know about fighting and disturbance and all of this. But the one that gets the main prize, the one that broke a man and his wife up, the Iblis, the head shaitan, he said, you are the one, you are the one, you get the prize. وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمْرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَن يُوصَلْ. And part of the sin is that they broke the ties that Allah commanded them to keep. وَيُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Thus they made a lot of sin and corruption in the land. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ. They are the losers in this life and hereafter, from Surah Al-Baqarah. So this issue could be that talaq sometimes is wajib, but Allah, He still dislikes it in most cases unless it's an obligation. And the last, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala, that we will bring is the hadith for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "Tazawwaju an-nisa li-arba." Tazawwaj. Brothers sometimes translate this as marry women for 4 reasons. But tazawwaju here, laysa bifil amr, bal huwa sifa. It's a description of why men marry. من أسباب الرجال ينقه المرأة إما لهذا أو هذا هذا أو هذا. That men normally marry women for these 4 reasons. And then the Prophet, he mentioned the beauty, the lineage of the person, the wealth, and the one for the deen. And this deen here means the one has good character, not just she's a Muslim with something on her head, skinny shirt, tight jeans, not she wears a niqab, jilbab, and she has the dress of the Muslim, not she comes from a Muslim background. I was born in this country, in that country. I made Hajj, I made Umrah. My father's a big alim. No, she has the Iman after Iman. She prays, she fasts, the 5 daily prayer, Ramadan, and she has good character. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us righteous women. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them righteous men. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to correct our understanding of His book and the sunnah of His messenger. Wa sallallahu alaihi wa sallam Muhammad. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa afdalu salatu wa timmu taslim, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu, amma ba'du. I just want to remind the people as we conclude the second part of the khutbah, if you're sick, obviously sick, meaning like flu, corona, delta, omicron, they're going to come up with some other names, maybe Sa'id and Zayd, la hawla wa la quwwata billah. Then stay home. لا يزيدكم إيمانا بذهاب إلى المسجد ما دمتم مريض. It doesn't increase you in iman that you come to the masjid, so as long as you're sick. When you're sick, the obligation, the Prophet said to stay home if you're going to bring harm to the masjid. He said it about, we mentioned many times, garlic and kharafa, the green scallions and the onions. And there are things you eat that have many benefits. But because of the harm, the Prophet told the man in one narration, get out, kick them out the masjid. If we say that, oh, this is a law house, man, listen, get out of here with that. If you're sick, stay at the bait, stay at the crib, stay home. We'll make dua for you. What you need will help you. Shifa is from Allah, and Allah, inshallah, gives the healing. We ask Allah to heal us all. Ameen. This last 2 points about khula and marriage, because Allah musta'an, in the West, we have different situations, especially with the convert or the revert. And whichever one you choose, there's no right or wrong. Some say convert because you come from Christianity, Judaism, or Christianity, and the hadith kulukum mawlud ala fitra. Some scholars say fitra here means Islam. Others say fitra bima'na yumli ila al-haq, that you incline towards the truth. So whichever term you take, if you're coming back to something, or you incline into something, revert, convert, we know that's us. Like the likes of your Shaikh on the member. That's us. We're not born Muslim, not first generation, So this khula thing, and then we're talking about marriage. Is the last 2 points. Khula, I'm going to deal with first. When a lady in Islam gets out of a marriage, it's either because the man طلقها يعني نطق ويعني قلبه نية صالح, says I divorce you. Then there's a period that has to take place before its final process, just like in the civil marriage. Then there's khula. Khula, the first khula in Islam was because a lady who was married to one of the companions, she went to the Prophet. She said, "Ma aibu an Qais, ya ma aibu anhu yani deen wala khuluq." Said, "I don't find a problem with his deen nor his character." Deen, she meant he prays. Because if a man is married to a man and he doesn't pray, the marriage is nullified automatically, according to most scholars, because this is ridda. You have to pray as a Muslim. تارك الصلاة على أصح أقوال من كتاب الله وسنة رسول الله وأقوال الصحابة والسلف هذه الأمة كفر. Based on the Quran, the Prophet's statement, authentic hadiths, companions, and the Salaf, the people of this ummah from the past, you leave Islam. Nobody took you out. You did yourself by leaving the Salah. Likewise, Shaikh on the Mukbil, he was asked about a lady. She's praying. We do it. We put up a good thing. The sister want to marry the brother. She going to pray, put on this, that, make dhikr, I fast, brother. MashaAllah, I love Allah and His messenger. Shaikh said, they asked the man married the lady, and then once he get her, now she stopped praying. Is this yani aqd sahih amla? Is this marriage sahih or not? The Shaykh said that aqd sahih, walakin له أن يفرقها لأن ترك الصلاة ردة. He said the marriage contract is still good, but he should divorce her because her leaving the prayer is ridda, just like the man. She leaves Islam. So what's the point? Khula. When she said, I don't find a problem with deen, she means he prays. That's not all it is to deen, but that's the first thing to deen, praying. On على الدوام الصلوات الخمسة مع شروطها وأركانها وواجباتها, with the prerequisites, the things that are components of the salat, and the things that are obligation. You have to. She said, well, khulaq, how he talks to her, how he deals with her, if he beats her or not. She said, I don't find no problem with him in that. She said, walakin aksha kufran ashir. She said, but I'm afraid I won't be grateful to him. Meaning I won't lay down and open my legs as a wife when he wants his sexual rights. I said, what do you have for the marriage gift? She said, I have a bustan. Yeah, I have a garden. She said, can you give it back? She said, yeah. He said, go home to your family. That marriage is over. When you read all of the narration, this is the danger of reading one narration. When you read all of the narration, there was some physical violence. There was some effect of not lowering the gaze, because this lady, she used to be in the house before she got married. Not going here and there, marketplace, traveling. Once she got married, she's traveling around with her husband, but she's looking too. Oh, wow, he's handsome. Oh, wow, he's tall. Oh, he's this, that. And her husband was dark. The hadith said, Kana aswad wa qabih. He was black and ugly. Now, this is descriptive. This is descriptive. This is how she felt. This is what the people said. Racism and no racism. This was what was in the hadith. So now he's jealous. And we know the devices, the television, the satellite dish, it's a big problem in the issue of marriage. The lady want to get out. The husband is cheating. She's cheating. Divorce. Because people are looking at stuff and they're not desiring what they have anymore. One of the benefits from this hadith. Because she didn't lower her gaze, look at this. So now he's beating her. He has no control. He's jealous. She's pretty. He breaks the bone. All of this in the hadith. The Prophet was the judge. Kana qadi min al-qudaa. She went to him. For us, the lady gets mad. He's not breaking bones. He's not somebody who is beating her down like in the hadith. The man broke her bones. It's a debate. It's an argument. It's a misunderstanding. It's a challenge. She don't like the authority. This, that. He said something he wasn't supposed to say. He disrespected her. Or he talked to her, he raised his voice. I want to khula. That's what they holler. And sometimes they say kula. In Jahiliyyah, we have drinks, beer, wine. One of them is kula. Strawberry, pina colada, one of kula. Can't even say it right. One person, they asked for it, and then they came back and said, well, when am I supposed to leave the house? Can I be around him? Do I have to cover? I've never been through this before. I don't know what to do. You ask for something and you don't know what to do. So that's for the judges. Women can't be hollering, I want khula. And we know Shaikh Uthaymeen and them said, Yani al-shuyukh wa tulab al-quba. They come to us. But in this day and time, you can't trust the imam. You go to him and say, I got a problem, this and that. He said, you know what? And he's not being fair. He didn't hear the man's side. He didn't get all the story. He said, that man is a bum. He's evil. You're right. I give you the khullah. Next week, he's married to her. And they said, you should have the iddah for the khullah, yani shahrun wahid, just to see if she's pregnant. He's married to her in 1 week. Oh, she took a pregnant test, so we don't need to complete the week. You know, she's my wife now. Evil. Evil. Lastly, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala said, Allah Azza Jal says, Surah Nur, Azani la yankihu illa zaniyatin aw mushrik, wa la yankihu wa zaniyatu la yankihuha illa zanin aw mushrik, wa hurrima dhalika ala al-mu'minin. Allah said, and the man who's a zani, La yankihu illa zanin. He will not marry a lady except one who's like him, making illegal intercourse, or mushrik. And the lady who's a zaniya, she's a lady who's sleeping around. She will not marry anybody except the man who sleeps around, or a mushrik. And then Allah said, "Hurrima dhalika ala al-mu'minin." The ulama, they said, look how Allah qarrana az-zina ma'a shirk. How Allah coupled zina and shirk in one ayah. That the believing man, here nikah has two meanings in the Quran and the Sunnah. One sex, the other aqd. Huna bima'na al-aqd is talking about the marriage contract, the agreement. The man who's making zina, he can't go and say, well, that lady who's chaste, she's afifa. She's not known to be in a relationship. She's not going to give him, a one-night stand, let him test it out. None of that. He can't marry her. Allah said he can't marry nobody but somebody like him who's living like that. Oh, mushrik. Oh, mushrik. SubhanAllah. Look at the humiliation. Unzur ila al-adab. The punishment. Allah won't allow you to marry nobody who's tayyibin with tayyibat, who's good, male or female. You got to marry the worst. Someone who's like you, who's untrustworthy, who's not right in their character, who's zanin, mushrik. He is a man who's making zina, or that which is from the mushrikun, who Allah called najis, in their belief and in their physical cleaning and so forth. So this, we have to understand all of these misconceptions and lack of knowledge and moves and games in the religion as it relates to marriage. We are very, very wrong in a lot of these issues. And this is one of them. For a man who is upright to marry a lady, it's clear she's making zina. Allah said he can't do it if he's a believer. And the Prophet lastly, he said, La yazni zana, la yazni zana, hina yazni, la yazni zani, hina yazni mu'min. When the person who's a Muslim, pay close attention. Person's a Muslim. When he makes zina, when he picks a hooker up, when he has the girlfriend, that's my boo, that's my girl. Oh, we cool. That guy, when he makes zina with that lady, the Prophet said, he's not a mu'min. His iman left. La yazni zana hina zani wa huwa mu'min. A mu'min will never be able to do it. His iman is the thing that stands between him or her in that act. As Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala's Prophet mentioned in the Hadith, Sab'a yadhillahum Allahu yawma la dhillu illa dhilluhu. That 7 people will earn a shade on the day of judgment when there will be no trees, no buildings, no gazebos, no nothing. Allah is going to give you a special shade from your obedience. And in that Hadith, one of them, a man who said, Inni akhaf Allah. He said, I fear Allah because he was seduced by a lady with beauty and wealth and he turned it down. So this is the evil lady, the opposite of what Prophet mentioned, al-mar'atu salih, the righteous lady, from the best of the things that you enjoy in this life. And next khutbah will deal with the righteous man. We'll ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in iman by the recitation and the explanation of his book. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا متقين إماما اللهم نسألك جنة الفردوس الأعلى ونعوذ بك من النار يا مقلب قلوب ثبت قلوبنا على طاعتك يا مصرف قلوب صرف قلوبنا على دينك وأقيم الصلاة